Even hearing from people that credit to the drug that for saving their lives. They're saying it saved their life, but Dr. Fauci is still saying this is anecdotal. He's actually steering people away from using the drug. However, 15 years ago, in a now blockbuster article that was published by NIH, his NIH, and I'm going to quote you what it says. It says, quote, chloroquine is a potent inhibitor of SARS coronavirus infection and spread. So what does this mean in terms of what Dr. Fauci has known for the last 15 years? And why would he misguide the American public in a move that has possibly cost thousands of people their lives?
Well, this is the pattern of Tony Fauci since 1984. So he and the FDA and the CDC are the gatekeepers on what drugs get used in medicine. And that's what's wrong with medicine, because it's not just hydroxychloroquine, which has been on the list of essential medicines. 70 years it's data. That's not anecdotal, but this is throughout my career, and this is what Tony Fauci has done. Peptide T, the simple immune modulator, could have been used to save millions of lives in the HIV epidemic in the 80s and 90s, and was never used and was never approved by the FDA. So the FDA is the gatekeeper now on preventing the correct testing from being done, and not doing, not the drugs that are simple. So we've also got interferon alpha, 40 years. That was the first immune therapy that I developed. We don't need a vaccine. We have people who are immune, and we have interferon alpha, and we would prevent the transmission of coronaviruses from animals to human with interferon alpha used in their water at doses that cost less than 50 cents a day. Now we could use that immune therapy to protect 1,000 elderly people for a week, 2 doses a day, 50 cents a dose. So it's not just hydroxychloroquine. The Tony Fauci, my entire career, natural product, non-patentable, literally pennies on the dollar therapies that are even, we use the word curative. By themselves, they're not cures, but used in combination with other things. Again, just like you said, we could have prevented not just thousands, but millions of deaths, and not just coronaviruses, but the last decades of this knowledge. We know so much more about the immune system, and we're not allowed to study it because of the gatekeepers that are promoting the drugs. It's very clear the remdesivir from Gilead, that Tony Fauci is funding the studies and pushing this drug to get quick approval. It's dangerous, and he's changing the clinical trials to cover up the dangerous, and it's not helping anyone near as much as the hydroxychloroquine, and yet that's being prevented, and doctors will lose their license if they use it in certain states. So this is the entire HHS, our entire system of medicine is broken, and has been broken, and they've known it for 40 years. And hopefully this last pandemic that's really destroyed our economy, and we were talking this morning, we can't even imagine the how much it's going to take to heal our children. Every one of these laws are being broken by Dr. Fauci, and it's not just and driving towards dangerous drugs or vaccines. You don't need a vaccine if people already have antibodies. And yet Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci and Dr. Redfield are saying, oh no, those antibodies aren't therapeutic. They're not beneficial. Well, that's the same thing your vaccine is intended to produce, antibodies. So why are natural healing and natural modalities and natural infections, and saying you were exposed and you actually make an antibody, an IgG, which is a memory response to the coronaviruses should you ever see it again? That's immunity. And that's what the entire vaccine program, all they have to do is show that that people make an antibody. They don't, and so why is it being why is that those data being ignored by these people? Well, because it has to drive towards the development of a vaccine, and they have to keep us locked down and fearful. And in fact, no vaccine that's been made in at least the 21st century and has proved any kind of immunity. And the reason I can say that is because no testing's been done. No safety testing in 36 years of anything on the schedule of the combinations. This is the problem. So I think, as we talked about the last time, President Trump could stop this plague of corruption literally tomorrow by doing two things. And that's ending the Bayh-Dole Act that allowed government workers to patent their work. And it's taxpayers' money. That's what drives up the cost of everything. And that's what, in my opinion, I was a kid. I was maybe 25 years old. It ruined science because we didn't collaborate anymore. We didn't talk anymore. It was always about your intellectual property. No, the intellectual property belongs to the taxpayers. They turned on the lights. They developed the drugs. The FDA, again, took authority for which drugs we could use in which diseases. And I say we there as medical professionals. Medical professionals should be allowed to determine what their patients use. And we've developed, in my lifetime, dozens of drugs which could be used that's safe and effective where the appropriate treatment has been done, where the appropriate clinical studies, just like clinical studies with Suramin had been done in autism, and that drug won't be released. And Bayer literally took it off the market. Well, when we make drugs for cancer, if a double-blind placebo-controlled study ends up benefiting one group, you stop the study and you give it to everyone. In 2015, when we showed that, when that study was done in autism, they stopped the study and they took it away from everyone. And so now nobody can use that drug that could give back these children their lives. Would it fix all of it? No, but the ones it did help, and again, I go all the way back to the 80s with peptide T, and it's the subject of the movie The Dallas Buyers Club, so your listeners or your viewers can go watch. And again, the band played on, which is what we lived, and we can start seeing this plague of corruption. So it's been going on in every branch of the government, and they work together, they collude, and to keep the medicines from getting to the people that not only cost very little, but would literally bring our health back. We can make a safe vaccine. We can make a safe vaccine with that natural adjuvant, interferon alpha, that first immune therapy I worked on. We don't have to put toxic aluminum and toxic mercury in these vaccines in order to adjuvant, that is, boost the immune system. We have natural immune boosters like peptide D, like interferon alpha. I could put 3 of those into a capsule that dissolves exactly in the right place in the gut and present purified whole virus to the immune system, and the immune system would do what it's supposed to do. And that's develop lasting memory, because I'm giving the communicators for the cells exactly what we've learned in our 40 years of research. That vaccine could be plug and play for every pathogen, every family, and you just deliver it. It's formulation. You send it to the site where you want it to go and away from the injury. You don't inject it in the bloodstream where it goes to every cell of the body and including the brain. So that's the wrong thing to do, and we know that, but we've been prevented since 1986, since the National Vaccine Injury Compensation Act removed all liability from pharmaceutical companies. So no testing's been done. There's no liability. It doesn't matter if this vaccine that they're trying to roll out in December is safe or efficacious or not. Even if it kills people, they can say, well, we had to do it. It was an epidemic. And I think there's a law about that because, Homeland Security, this is it. So no matter what, will be mandated, as we've been mandated to take these other toxic shots that don't do anything for our immunity and actually are crippling our immunity and making us sick. So if we end the Bayh-Dole Act and we end the the National Vaccine Injury Compensation Act, he can repeal both of those right now, President Trump, and that'll change all of medicine. because then we leave it up to the beautiful people who and the small businesses who could really make a lot with the ingenuity that we have in America.